to Shudders and Shivers Studio, the place where creepy tales are brought to life. My name is Mr. Night Terror, and I am not your friendly next door neighbor. Oh, no, no. If you're looking for warm hugs and unicorns and boy, you are in the wrong place. But if it's terrifying tales you hope to find, then get comfortable, because Mr. Night Terror is here to keep it creepy. Let us begin.
The handcuffs felt cold and heavy on my wrists, threatening to pull me down for my illicit crime. The air in the room was stuffy and unwelcoming as a faint stench of urine swamped my nostrils. Hesitantly, I brought the cup of instant coffee to my lips, and without taking a sip, I put it down. Some things don't need to be tried for you to know it sucked. And that coffee right there, it sucked. Just like the predicament I found myself in. I don't know what to tell you, sir. I have told you everything many, many times now. I played trying to ignore signs of exhaustion. I have seen this before. Heck, anyone who has watched a decent number of cop movies has seen that they always get their man when fatigue sets in. It was just easier to give in and accept your fate when your body has reached its limit. The problem, however, was that I was innocent, you see. Now don't you dare roll your eyes at me, or say something condescending like, "Yeah, right, buddy. I am not a liar. I am an innocent man in an awkward position." "Well, indulge me, Jeffrey, won't you?" the detective said, smiling. He seemed friendly, and I believed that we could be friends in a different world. In here, however, I was the one keeping him from his bed tonight. "Look, if you don't have enough to hold me, I'd really like to go home now," I said, trying my best to keep my impatience from my voice. I knew enough to know that stirring these guys up would not end well for me. Their gazes met before they both smiled at me. My heart sank, as I knew instantly I wasn't going home tonight.
"Well, that's just the thing,"
the other detective said. I didn't like him as much. He seemed smug and arrogant.
"We have more than enough to keep you here as long as we damn well please,"
he added, sniffing loudly. Fearing that they might see the tears forming in my eyes, I rubbed them and kept them closed. "I am not a murderer," I said, even though I knew that statement made no difference to them. Walking down the hallway to the holding cell, I thought of Jessica. God, how much I missed her already. Her death will leave an unfillable void within me. I knew this when I stared into her lifeless eyes. Yet I'll never forget how peaceful she appeared as she took her last breath. The holding cell was unnaturally bright, making me squint and encouraging my headache to intensify. I put my head in my hands as I heard them lock the door, refusing to watch them shut out my freedom. Silence fell over the room, and then I just let go, I wept about everything that had gone wrong in the last 24 hours. Yesterday life was so good. And if only I knew just how good, I would have taken some time to appreciate it. Now here I was, sitting in a holding cell, accused of killing my girlfriend and her parents. Grim. That's how I felt. What are you in for, partner? The voice on my right startled me. I jumped and wiped my eyes, trying to hide weakness from the stranger. He was large and rough-looking, covered with tattoos, unshaven with an unfriendly gaze. Something about him told me that he wasn't the kind of person who would ever have a partner. It's just a misunderstanding, I said weakly, knowing how predictable it all sounded. Yet another accused man claiming he didn't do it. Hey bro, you'll get no judgment from me, man, he said with a creepy smile over his lips. Even though I was afraid of what he'd say, I asked, why are you here? He stared at me for a few seconds, and I feared that I had overstepped. Then he sat back, placing his head on the dull-colored wall, and smiled. That same creepy smile. He answered boldly, and proudly even. Just a bar fight this time. But you know what, man? If these losers knew what I was really up to tonight, they'd take me much more seriously. And he laughed loudly, and I swallowed and hoped he didn't hear the nerves in my voice as I asked, what did you do earlier tonight? He took a deep breath, delighted to have an audience it seemed, and said, so I'm walking in this rich part of town, right? Just looking for stuff to nick, you know. And I spot this rich lady walking into her home. Now this stupid broad leaves the door right open. He laughed deeply and put his hands through his short hair. Intrigued by the events before he landed here and eager to share, he moved closer to me. So I go right in, quiet as a mouse. And there she is. She's just packing out some groceries. I thought we could have a good time, you know. She didn't think so. She put up quite a fight, bro. And suddenly, there is her father, banging on my shoulder like a boxing champ. Only the thing was, that old-timer punched like a girl. I said this before laughing again. His laughter echoed off the walls, causing a shiver to run down my spine. Now the little mother appears, rapping on about how she was gonna call the coppers. Well, of course, I couldn't have that, he said, and I swallowed hard. Suddenly overcome with nausea. Even though I didn't want to hear it, I needed him to continue. Oh, them rich folk. Now they fall like dominoes, you know, didn't even break a sweat. And the real funny thing is, while I was sitting there, I heard them question the loser boyfriend who found them. Now I think he'll sit a real long time. He whispered and winked at me. I wanted to say something, but I was unable to move, transfixed in my seat. And now that I see your weak little face, I think that loser might be you, am I right? He asked and laughed again. His laughter became louder and louder, until eventually it was the only thing I could hear. I covered my ears as tears ran down my face. Images of Jessica and her parents lying lifelessly on my kitchen floor flashed through my mind, and I pushed the giant psychopath back before lunging to the cell door. "Help me!" I screamed hysterically, banging on the bars. I continued to scream, begging to be released from this hell. It felt like an eternity before the night staff arrived. "Newbie, keep it down, will ya?" One of the two shouted at me. It was the younger one who showed concern. "Look, man, he's going to hyperventilate," he said to his partner worryingly. I couldn't stop screaming and banging on the bars, and while doing so I heard the large man's laughter behind me. It was taunting me. The older policeman rolled his eyes and said, "Well, there goes our peaceful night." He gave me a hard stare before removing his keys. "Now don't make me regret this, newbie. You hear?" he said as he began to unlock the door. I fell out of the cell, breathing deeply. Urine stained my pants and tears ran down my face. The younger police officer picked me up and looked at me with concern. "Hey dude, did you take something?" he asked. "He did it!" I screamed, pointing back at the cell. "He killed them all," I said softly, feeling queasy on my feet. The young man looked over at his partner. The older man stepped forward and said, "Look there, kid. There is no one in there, you idiot." And with that, they threw me back into my empty cell, alone to face my demons.
We have come to the end of our spooky slope, friends. Join me, Mr. Night Terror, again next time for more chilling tales. Let's face it, life is so much better if you have a few shivers running down your spine. Sweet dreams, Daredevils.